The red dust of Mars swirled around the excavation site as Dr. Anna Moore brushed away centuries of debris from the metallic surface. Her hands trembled slightly, not from the cold, but from excitement. After 3 months of digging, her team had finally uncovered something that wasn't just another rock. "Captain Reed," she called out, her voice crackling through the radio. "You need to see this." James Reed made his way carefully down the slope of the dig site, his boots leaving deep impressions in the rust-colored soil. The morning sun cast long shadows across the Martian landscape, making the scene look even more otherworldly than usual. "What have you found, Doctor?" he asked, kneeling beside her. His weathered face showed the same excitement that had kept the whole team working through weeks of disappointment. "Look at these markings," Anna said, pointing to the symbols that curved across the metal panel. "They're not random. This is language, and it's not from Earth." The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Within hours, more panels were uncovered, each bearing the same precise, geometric writing. But it was the hologram that changed everything. When the team activated the power source they found beneath the panels, a message flickered to life in the thin Martian air. The image showed beings of light, tall, elegant creatures that seemed to be made of pure energy. Their message was clear, thanks to the universal translation matrix they had thoughtfully included in the transmission. "To those who find this warning, heed our words," the message began. "We were once like you, young and full of promise. We reached for the stars and found wonders beyond imagination. But we also found horror. It comes in cycles, every 100,000 years. The great harvest, the end of civilizations. We fought, we lost, but we learned." Captain Reed watched the message play through 3 times, his military training helping him spot the details others might miss. The beams of light showed scenes of destruction, entire worlds going dark, massive machines consuming everything in their path. "This is more than just a warning," he said quietly. "It's a survival guide." But when they presented their findings to the Galactic Council, the response wasn't what they expected. The council chamber, with its soaring crystal spires and floating platforms, seemed designed to make visitors feel small and insignificant. Representatives from 100 advanced civilizations looked down at the human delegation with barely concealed disdain. "Primitives finding ghost stories in the dust," one counselor remarked, their translator barely masking the contempt in their tone. "We have monitored this sector for millennia. There is no great threat hiding in the dark between stars." Dr. Moore stood her ground. "The evidence is clear. The elders left these warnings for a reason. They speak of a cycle, and by our calculations, we're due for another." "The humans have been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries," interrupted first speaker Gall, their luminescent form pulsing with what seemed like amusement. "We have mapped every dark corner of this galaxy. We have technologies you cannot even comprehend. If there was a threat as you described, we would know of it." Council Elder Thompson, the human representative, tried to support their case. "My species may be young, but we have learned to pay attention to warnings from the past. History has taught us." "History?" Another counselor scoffed. "What could your brief history teach us about the cosmos?" As they left the council chamber, Captain Reed turned to Dr. Moore. "They're not going to help us, are they?" Anna shook her head, clutching her data pad containing copies of the elder warnings. "No, they're too sure of themselves, too comfortable in their power." She looked up at the glittering skyline of the council world, where ships of impossible designs danced between the stars. But the elders' warning was clear, and someone needs to prepare for what's coming. Reed's jaw tightened as he made a decision. "Then it will have to be us. Humanity has always been good at surviving against the odds." He managed a grim smile. "And we're very good at proving others wrong." 3 months after the Council's dismissal of the Mars discovery, the first star flickered. Not the normal pulsing of a variable star, but something entirely different. The star dimmed completely for exactly 2 minutes and 14 seconds, then returned to its normal brightness, as if nothing had happened. Dr. Anna Moore stared at the data readings from her new office at the Earth Defense Force headquarters. "This is impossible," she muttered, running the numbers again. "Stars don't just turn off and on like a light switch." Her computer screen filled with more alerts. 2 more stars had done the same thing, forming a perfect triangle in space. Then 5 more winked out briefly, creating a precise geometric pattern that couldn't be natural. She reached for her communicator. "Captain Reed, are you seeing this?" "My ship's been tracking it for the past hour," Reed replied. His vessel, the EDF Vigilant, was patrolling the outer colonies. "It's not just in our sector. Reports are coming in from across the galaxy. The Council is calling it a natural phenomenon," Reed finished. "Some kind of synchronized solar activity, they say. But you and I both know better." Anna pulled up the Elder warning again, focusing on one particular section she translated. "The signs will appear in the spaces between," she read aloud. "First the lights will dance, then the darkness will spread. They are mapping the galaxy, marking their hunting grounds." More reports flooded in. An entire star system went dark for 5 minutes. When it came back online, all long-range communications in that sector had stopped working. The colony world of New Dawn reported strange shadows moving through their upper atmosphere, visible only on certain frequencies. "The Council has to listen now," Anna said during an emergency meeting with Earth's military command. She spread her evidence across the conference table, star charts showing the patterns, readings from the affected systems, and most importantly, new translations from other Elder sites she'd found. "They're not going to," said General Waters, looking grim. "Our representative just sent word. The Council is claiming these are temporary disturbances caused by natural gravitational waves. They're telling everyone to remain calm and carry on as usual." "But we found another warning site," Anna protested. "This one on Europa. It matches the Mars site exactly, but adds new information. The Elders didn't just leave us a warning. They left us a timeline. And according to their calculations, we have less than 6 months before." The lights in the room flickered and died. Outside the windows, darkness swept across the city like a wave. For 30 seconds, Earth itself seemed to hold its breath. Then everything came back on, but something had changed. Every computer screen showed the same message, repeating in an endless loop. "Harvest sequence INITIAT." On the Vigilant, Captain Reed watched his crew scramble to make sense of the readings. "Report," he demanded. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of charted space," his science officer replied. "They're unlike anything we've ever seen. And they're moving in our direction." Reed's tactical display lit up with emergency signals. 3 distant colony worlds had gone completely silent. No distress calls, no automated beacons, nothing. Just empty silence where thousands of people should have been. In the council chamber, the representatives of the galaxy's oldest civilizations finally began to show signs of worry. Their mighty technologies, the same ones they had bragged about, couldn't explain what was happening. Some of them remembered the human warning now, but their pride still wouldn't let them admit they might have been wrong. Back on Earth, Anna Moore worked frantically to decode more of the Elder messages. Each new site they found contained a piece of the puzzle, but time was running out. The patterns in space grew more complex, spreading like a web across the stars. And in that web, humanity and every other spacefaring race were about to learn a harsh lesson about the price of ignoring history. They came without warning. The colony world of Blue Haven was preparing for its annual harvest festival when the sky turned black. Not from clouds or ships, but from something worse, machines that moved like liquid metal, flowing through space itself. Captain Reed and the Vigilant were the closest Earth Defense Force ship to respond. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered, watching the massive shapes descend toward the colony. "And someone get me Dr. Moore on the line. We need to know what we're dealing with." The machines were enormous, each one larger than the biggest council ships. They moved with a terrible grace, ignoring the colony's defensive fire as if it were nothing more than rain against a window. "James, are you seeing this?" Anna's voice crackled through the comm. She had patched in from Earth, where she was analyzing the data in real time. They matched the Elder descriptions exactly. They're harvesters. They'd break down organic matter and convert it into energy to sustain themselves. Reed watched as one of the machines touched down on Blue Haven's surface. Where it made contact, everything simply disappeared. Buildings, plants, and ground were all consumed, leaving perfect geometric holes in the landscape. "The colony's shields aren't even slowing them down," his tactical officer reported. "Their weapons are passing right through our best defenses." But Reed noticed something odd. The harvesters were ignoring the colony's older sections, the parts built with simpler technology. They focused on the newer areas, with their advanced power systems and modern materials. "Dr. Moore," he said, an idea forming. "The Elder's warning mentioned something about adaptation. These things evolve to counter advanced technology, right?" "Yes, that's why they target the most developed worlds first," Anna confirmed. "They've had countless cycles to perfect their methods against advanced civilizations." Reed made a quick decision. "All hands, power down all advanced systems. Switch to backup chemical engines and projectile weapons only." His crew looked at him like he was crazy, but they obeyed. The vigilant, sleek energy weapons and shield systems went dark, replaced by older missile systems that hadn't been used in decades. "Sir," his weapons officer said, "we're picking up council ships entering the system. 3 heavy cruisers." The council ships were beautiful, their advanced technology making them look more like works of art than warships. They opened fire with their most powerful weapons and achieved nothing. The harvesters simply absorbed their energy attacks, growing stronger. But when the Vigilant launched a spread of simple chemical missiles, something unexpected happened. The explosions actually damaged one of the machines. "It's working." Reed broadcast to the council ships. "Switch to physical weapons. They can't adapt to simple kinetic impacts." The council ships either couldn't or wouldn't listen. One by one, they fell to the harvesters, their advanced technology turned against them. But the Vigilant, running on basic power and firing primitive weapons, managed to drive 2 harvesters away from the colony's main population center. In the council chamber, emergency sessions ran nonstop. The mighty rulers of space now watched in horror as reports came in from across the galaxy. Their most advanced worlds were falling first, their sophisticated defenses useless against the ancient threat. "We should have listened," First Speaker Gall admitted, their luminescent form dimmed with worry. "The humans tried to warn us." But it was Council Elder Thompson who spoke the painful truth. "No, we shouldn't just have listened. We should have learned. These harvesters adapt to defeat advanced civilizations, but they've never faced a species that still remembers how to fight with sticks and stones while reaching for the stars." Back on Blue Haven, Captain Reed helped coordinate the evacuation of the surviving colonists. The Vigilant had proven that humanity's primitive technology could hurt the machines. Now they just had to figure out how to use that advantage before more worlds fell. "Dr. Moore," he called over the comm, "I need you to find everything the Elders wrote about fighting these things. It's time to teach the galaxy how to wage war the old-fashioned way." The gas giant Jupiter swirled with endless storms as Dr. Anna Moore's research ship approached its mysterious core. After finding references in 7 different Elder sites, she was convinced that the largest planet in Earth's solar system held the key to humanity's survival. "The readings are off the charts," her assistant said, checking the instruments. "There's something solid down there, right where it shouldn't be." Deep within Jupiter's crushing pressure zones, their sensors had detected a perfect cube, 20 kilometers on each side. It was impossible. Nothing could survive those pressures. Nothing natural, at least. "Captain Reed," Anna called through the long-range comm, "we found it. The Elder Archive is real." The Vigilant was escorting 3 refugee ships from another fallen colony, but Reed's response came quickly. "Can you access it?" "That's the problem," Anna replied, studying the data. "The archive is protected by multiple layers of security. The Elders designed it so that no single species could open it alone. It needs," she paused, reading the ancient text carefully. "It needs representatives from at least 5 different civilizations, all working together." "The Council won't help," Reed said. "They're too busy evacuating their core worlds. The Harvesters have already taken 12 of their most advanced systems." Anna watched Jupiter's storms rage outside her viewport. "Then we'll find others. The younger races, the ones the Council always ignored. They'll listen to us now." Within days, Anna's ship welcomed an unusual group of visitors. Representatives from the Ridge Runners, the Deep Miners, the Star Nomads, and the Crystal Shapers, all races that the Council had dismissed as too primitive for real galactic politics. "The archive contains everything the Elders knew about the Harvesters," Anna explained to the gathered representatives. "Their weaknesses, their patterns, maybe even a way to stop them. But we have to work together to open it." The Ridge Runner Elder, his scaled skin reflecting the ship's lights, spoke first. "Our people remember when the Council called us cave dwellers. Now their mighty cities fall while our simple tunnels remain safe." "The Crystal Shapers stand with Earth," their representative added, her crystalline form humming with energy. "We have seen how the humans fight with wisdom, not just technology." Deep beneath Jupiter's clouds, 5 ships from 5 different worlds positioned themselves around the mysterious cube. Each race contributed what they knew of Elder technology, piecing together an understanding that no single species could have achieved alone. "The archive's outer layer is responding," Anna reported, excitement in her voice. "It recognizes all 5 species working in harmony, just as the Elders planned." The cube began to glow, its surface shifting like liquid metal. Symbols appeared, the same writing they'd found on Mars. But now they could understand more of it. The archive was not just a database, it was a key to understanding the galaxy's greatest threat. But time was running out. Long-range sensors detected harvester ships entering the solar system. The massive machines had finally traced the Elder energy signatures to their source. "We need more time," Anna said, frantically working to download the archive's data. "There's so much here about the Harvesters' origins, their weaknesses." "You'll have your time." Captain Reed's voice came through clearly as the Vigilant dropped out of faster-than-light travel. "We'll hold them off. The old-fashioned way." As the archive slowly revealed its secrets, the 5 united species prepared for battle above Jupiter. They had no advanced energy weapons, no sophisticated shields. But they had something the Harvesters had never faced before: 5 different races fighting as one, using technology so basic it was virtually invisible to the ancient machines. The first Elder archive was about to witness a battle that would prove its creator's wisdom. Sometimes the oldest methods were the best defense against the oldest threats. The emergency meeting room on Earth's moon base was crowded with representatives from 20 different species. Captain Reed stood at the front, pointing to a map of the galaxy where red dots showed fallen worlds. "The Harvesters have taken 30% of Council space," he said. "Their advanced worlds are falling first. But look here." He highlighted several sectors in green. "The younger races, those of us using simpler technology, we're holding our ground." The Ridge Runner Elder raised a clawed hand. "Our deep caves remain safe. The machines cannot sense our old mining equipment." "Same with our crystal ships," added the Crystal Shaper leader. "They see right through our simple designs." Dr. Moore stepped forward, holding data from the Jupiter archive. "The Elders left us more than warnings. They left us a battle plan. The Harvesters adapt to any advanced technology they encounter. But they evolve forward, never backward. They can't understand why anyone would choose to use simpler tools." Outside the base's windows, Earth's orbital defense platforms were being modified. Workers stripped away the energy shields and plasma weapons, replacing them with physical armor and old-style missile launchers. The Council called us primitive, Reed continued. Now that same primitive technology is our advantage. We need to teach others how to fight this way. A huge explosion lit up the lunar sky. Everyone rushed to the windows to see a Council battleship, one of their most advanced vessels, burning as it tried to escape 3 harvester machines. The ship's energy weapons did nothing against the ancient threat. But then something unexpected happened. A small fleet of crystal shaper ships, looking more like rough gems than proper spacecraft, approached the battle. They fired simple mineral projectiles at the harvesters. The crystals, vibrating at specific frequencies, cracked the machine's outer shells. "That's what we're talking about," Reed said, pointing to the battle. "The harvesters can't adapt to what they don't see as technology. They're blind to our advantages." The Ridge Runners shared their knowledge of tunnel warfare. The Deep Miners brought their expertise in old-style explosives. The Star Nomads taught others about navigation without complex computers. And humans shared everything they knew about fighting against superior forces. Dr. Moore worked day and night, combining knowledge from the archive with ideas from all the species. "Look at this," she told Reed one evening, showing him a new discovery. The elders didn't fail because they weren't strong enough. They failed because they tried to fight the harvesters with pure technology. They forgot their roots. More refugee ships arrived every day as the Council's mighty civilization crumbled. Their great cities, built with technology so advanced it seemed like magic, offered no protection against the ancient machines. But the resistance grew stronger. Humans taught Council refugees how to fight with simple weapons. The Ridge Runners showed them how to hide using natural caves instead of energy fields. The crystal shapers helped them build ships that were practically invisible to the harvester sensors. "We're not just fighting for survival anymore," Reed told his crew as they prepared for another battle. "We're fighting to prove that progress isn't just about having the most advanced technology. It's about remembering where you came from." In the Council chamber, now relocated to a simple underground bunker, First Speaker Gall watched reports from across the galaxy. Their own mighty fleets were in ruins, but the alliance of primitive races was actually pushing the harvesters back in some sectors. "Perhaps," they said quietly, "we were not as advanced as we thought." The Resistance's success brought hope, but also drew attention. The harvesters were changing course, gathering their forces for a massive attack. The machines had identified the real threat, not the Council's advanced civilizations, but the younger races who dared to fight back with the simplest of weapons. The galactic core blazed with weapons fire as 10,000 harvester machines descended upon the most populated region of space. Their massive forms blotted out entire star systems, moving with terrible purpose toward the heart of civilization. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Captain Reed watched the Council's last defense line crumble. Their mighty ships, once the pride of the galaxy, lasted barely minutes against the harvester assault. "All ships, fall back to position Beta," he ordered the Resistance fleet. "Remember your training. No advanced tech, no fancy moves. Basic weapons only." The Resistance fleet looked nothing like a proper military force. Crystal shaper ships flew alongside retrofitted human vessels. Ridge Runner mining craft had been turned into weapon platforms. Even the Deep Miners had brought their asteroid-breaking explosives to the fight. "Captain," his tactical officer called out, "the Council's capital world just went dark. Their quantum defense grid, it just made things worse. The harvesters absorbed it and grew stronger." Dr. Moore's voice came through the calm from her position in the Jupiter archive. "James, we've almost cracked the final Elder security protocols. We just need more time." "Time is something we don't have," Reed replied, watching another Council world fall. The harvesters were consuming everything in their path, growing larger and more powerful with each advanced civilization they absorbed. But then something unexpected happened. A group of Star Nomad ships, using nothing but solar sails and gravity tricks, slipped past the harvester lines undetected. They deployed simple metal nets between stars, creating a maze that confused the machine's sensors. "It's working," Reed called out. All ships implement Plan Stone Age. The resistance fleet split into smaller groups, each using the most basic tactics imaginable. Ridge Runner ships fired clouds of simple rock dust, blocking the harvester's ability to detect energy signatures. Crystal Shapers used naturally formed crystals to reflect and scatter the machine's scanning beams. Human vessels launched old-style nuclear missiles, technology so primitive the harvesters had no defense against it. The deep miners detonated their asteroid-breaking charges, creating waves of simple kinetic force that the machines couldn't adapt to. They're slowing down, Reed observed. They don't know how to process all these low-tech attacks at once. But the victory was short-lived. The harvesters began to merge, combining into larger forms. Soon, a single massive machine emerged, larger than a small moon. It moved toward the resistance fleet, bringing with it all the advanced technology it had consumed. Dr. Moore, Reed called urgently. We need that archive information now. They're adapting faster than we can fall back. In the Jupiter archive, Anna worked frantically with representatives from all 5 founding races. The Elder security systems were finally responding to their combined efforts, revealing their last secrets. The archive isn't just information, she realized suddenly. The cube itself is a weapon. The Elders built it too. Her voice trailed off as she read the final translations. Oh, this changes everything. Above the galactic core, the resistance fleet fought with everything they had. Simple weapons and basic tactics slowed the giant harvester, but couldn't stop it. One by one, ships began to fall. Whatever you're going to do, Doctor, Reed said, watching the massive machine approach his position, do it fast. We're out of tricks, and we're running out of ships. The combined harvester loomed over the remains of the resistance fleet, its surface rippling with stolen energy and absorbed technology. It had adapted to everything the galaxy could throw at it, or so it thought. In the Jupiter archive, Dr. Moore made the hardest decision of her life. Captain, she said, her voice steady despite her fear, get everyone out of this sector. Now. Reed looked at his tactical display, seeing the archive's energy readings suddenly spike to impossible levels. What are you going to do? Something primitive, Anna replied. Something so basic even the Elders thought it was too simple to work. But that's exactly why it will. The Jupiter archive began to change. Its perfect cube shape melted away, revealing something so simple that Dr. Anna Moore almost laughed. Inside the massive structure was a single stone sphere, roughly carved and etched with basic geometric patterns. The Elder's greatest weapon, she said, understanding at last. It's just a rock. A very special rock, but still just a rock. In space above the galactic core, Captain Reed ordered the remaining resistance ships to fall back. The combined harvester had grown so large it rivaled a gas giant, its surface writhing with stolen technology and consumed energy. All ships, maximum distance, he commanded. Dr. Moore is about to show us what the Elders really left behind. The giant harvester approached the Council's last stronghold, ready to consume the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. But then something changed. The space around Jupiter rippled, and a simple stone sphere emerged from a fold in reality. The Elders knew the harvesters would keep evolving, keep adapting to fight more advanced weapons. Anna's voice came through the fleet's comm systems, so they created something that went the other way. The sphere generates a field that forces everything inside it to operate at its most basic level. The stone sphere began to spin, releasing waves of nothing. No energy signature, no radiation, no technology. Just pure, simple existence. Where the waves touched the harvester, its complex systems began to fail. Their own evolution is being turned against them, Reed realized, watching the massive machine try to adapt. They can only move forward, never backward. They can't handle being forced to be simple. A harvester's surface bubbled and twisted as it tried to process what was happening. All its stolen technology, all its advanced adaptations began to break down. It couldn't adapt to something that wasn't advancing, something that was deliberately primitive. Everyone, attack now. Reed ordered. Most basic weapons only. Give it so many simple problems it can't evolve fast enough to solve them. The resistance fleet struck from all directions. Ridge runners fired simple stone projectiles. Crystal shapers launched raw crystal shards. Human ships used basic chemical explosives. Star nomads created chaos with pure gravitational tricks. Deep miners split asteroids with basic mining charges. None of these attacks would have worked alone. But combined with the sphere's simplifying field, they created too many basic problems for the Harvester's advanced systems to handle. The massive machine began to break apart. Its complex structure couldn't maintain itself when forced to operate at such a basic level. Pieces of it fell away, dissolving into space like sand in the wind. In the Council's emergency bunker, First Speaker Gall watched in amazement. All our advanced weapons, all our sophisticated defenses, and we were defeated by simplicity itself. The remaining harvesters across the galaxy began to collapse as the sphere's effect spread. The machines that had terrorized civilizations for countless cycles were undone by the most basic force in the universe, the tendency of complex things to break down into simple ones. Hours later, the resistance fleet gathered around Earth. Representatives from every surviving species came together to plan the future. The council members, humbled by their near extinction, sat quietly among the younger races they had once dismissed. The elders' warning wasn't just about the harvesters, Dr. Moore explained to the gathered beings. It was about the danger of forgetting your roots, of believing that advanced always means better. Captain Reed stood beside her, looking out at the combined fleet. Crystal ships flew in formation with human vessels. Ridge runner craft docked alongside star nomad solar sailors. Deep miner explosives had become the foundation of a new defense system. We survived because we remembered what the Council forgot, he said. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Sometimes moving forward means knowing when to look back. The stone sphere continued its slow spin in space, a constant reminder that in a galaxy of endless advancement, the simplest solutions were often the most powerful. And humanity, the species that had bridged the gap between primitive and advanced, found itself in a unique position. Not as rulers, but as teachers, showing the galaxy that true progress meant maintaining balance between the simple and the complex, the old and the new. The elders' last warning had been heard at last, not by the most advanced, but by those wise enough to remember their beginnings.